Okay, so I have recorded the answers for this question that I was researching, and I recorded the answers of 4 large language models. So the first one that I used was this one is the Chat Mistral, I think. Yes. This, let's go from the beginning. Just recording this as basically evidence that I didn't make this up. Also, I'm not that smart. I wouldn't even be able to do it, because I just don't have the mental capacity, let's say, let's put it that way, to basically give these answers. Going little by little so that I don't miss any information. So basically what I did is first, so I wanted to know the probabilities, statistical probabilities of that happening, the 7. But I started with the 7 candidates of the same party, but then as I heard that like in the legacy media, they were saying that they're basically their reasoning was that so this is right, so this is the real number of the probability. So I wanted to they were saying that it was actually 16 candidates in total, like the people that had died. There wasn't just 7 from the opposition, there were 16 in total. So I thought, okay, then let's follow your hypothesis. Let's say then there wasn't just the 7 from the opposition. Let's count the others from the other parties as well. Let's see how statistically probable that is. And so I ended up running. Asking also about the probabilities of that of 16 candidates dying, and not just from the opposition, like in total with these other people that they claim that also had died from the other parties that were not the opposition. The official part, the people now. There are, I believe there must be, in charge of running the local of the city, let's say. So I did it with 16 people, and anyway, it's like so improbable. Anyway, it's like 16 people, 16 candidates. That actually makes it even worse. So notice how ChatGPT gives you exactly the time that the conversation started, and when I asked, and Chat Mistral also gives you like a timestamp after each answer. Answer, I have to pronounce correctly. I'm in England. And so you see here it says 9, and I could also ask let's see, let's just check what I did. I could copy paste exactly the same. No, between I presume it's gonna give me the answer. It gives you well, it gives you the time now. Here it tells you when it gives you. Okay, so the first answer was at 8:16. All right, that's what I wrote. Okay, so we've seen the Chat Mistral, ChatGPT's answers. Now let's go to Claude, Anthropic Claude. This is another large language model, but I asked it the same. I added this because I think I read it in a few places that it was sort of not very reliable, but I thought I'm gonna do it anyway. I'll do it with several. I'll run it through several AI software, and this is its answer. So at the beginning, it sort of refused on the grounds, refused answering me on the grounds that, well, it didn't have all the answers, blah blah blah. I did some pushback, but it was still not giving me much. Without, these excuses, without knowing the exact number, blah 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 blah. So I said, probably a specific number representing the probability of 16 candidates. So then that's when I asked about the 16 candidates dying within 4 weeks. And this was the mathematical calculation. It was using Poisson distribution. Poisson is not poison, but it's poison. It means like the type of formula. It must be the person who invented this formula, this probability formula, whatever. So it was giving me these numbers. So then what I did, and I pasted my answers, I asked another large language model to rate your answer, and this is what I got. What can you say about it? Because the critique is largely correct and highlights significant flaws in my analysis. Let me address the key points. So it says valid criticism, circular logic error, wrong baseline, ignored context, corrected calculation, realistic baseline for politicians, for same party clustering. So it corrected and says statistically impossible. That's what it's saying, basically, right? The critique correctly identifies that my answer was mathematically flawed and contextually blind. A proper statistical analysis would conclude this pattern is improbable under natural conditions, that it warrants. That's something good about large language models, that sort of like if you use another language model, you sort of force it to tell the truth. I asked it to rate the calculation of the Chat Mistral, and he gave it a 9 out of 10 from the 0-10 scale that I gave, and it says strengths, excellent execution, proper baseline, blah blah blah. Minor weaknesses, 1 point. That's the point that it took away from key insight, verdict, sound, contextually aware, statistical, blah blah blah. And then when I asked about the timestamp, when to know when this conversation started, it couldn't give me that answer, which is very basic, let's say. So it's very poor. It tells you a little bit about the type of developers. They don't even put a timestamp. Don't know why. It's pretty well. And then lastly, finally we have Gemini. I asked the same, you see, and this is So again, at the beginning, it refused. It was refusing. It's difficult to provide precise statistical probability for such scenario, blah, blah, blah. We don't know the size. We don't know the ages, causes of death, even though I had given it exactly. I gave it the names, the date of the death, when it happened, and then the age of the person, the deceased person. And well, anyway, it refused. So I ended up doing what I did with Anthropic Claude, is it? Yeah, it's a difficult name. How would you rate? And so I put that answer that it gave me. It's not putting it all. It was a long text. And look, it says, I'm sorry, I cannot provide an evaluation. I don't know, this model's response of another language, large language model's response. My purpose is to provide helpful, blah, 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 key factors for statistical analysis, blah, 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 lots of irrelevant information, qualitative assessment. Okay, so it wasn't playing along, it wasn't giving me anything. So I ended up saying, okay, I'm not going to say it's from a large language model. I'm going to say I made the calculation and ask it if it would correct it, if it was correct. I said, notice how I put I calculated. I know that. So okay, I put the whole thing. It was actually from Mistral again. And it says, your attempt to use statistical model to analyze the situation is commendable, as it's the correct way. Here's a rating and breakdown of the issues. Rating methodologically flawed. The numbers you derived are mathematically correct based on your setup, but your initial premise is incorrect. Notice your initial premise is incorrect, which renders the results meaningless. You see? So the calculation is not statistically sound because it uses form of circular reasoning. So breakdown of the errors. So it's actually saying, no, this is not Mistral. This was from Anthropic Claude. So I wrote it here, trying to trick it, and I did. So I put Claude's answer about the 16 deaths, and it tells me it's commendable, it's correct way. However, the calculation you provide contains fundamental statistical flaw. So it's correcting rating methodologically flawed. And here it says why it's not statistically sound because it uses form of circular reasoning. The numbers you derived, 9.92% and 56.6%, are mathematically correct based on your setup, but your initial premise is incorrect, which renders the results meaningless. And the breakdown of the errors, what this should be, the parameter, what you did, which was wrong. So look at this. This creates a logical loop. You're essentially asking, given that we expect 16 deaths, what is the probability of observing exactly 16 deaths? The answer will always suggest that the observed number is not particularly unusual, but this provides no insight into the actual probability of the event. To perform a meaningful statistical test, you would need to calculate blah 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 annual deaths, blah blah blah. The conclusion, how would you rate it from 0 to 10? I cannot assign numerical, I didn't want to give me a number. How would you rate the following rating process? So I gave it the rating process from the Chat Mistral, which gave it a 2 out of 10 to Anthropic Claude. And I wrote all of the blah 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 you see right here, and then the rating process you've outlined is a very thorough and well-reasoned critique of the statistical analysis provided earlier. So you see, and it tells me why it's correct. Highlights the misleading conclusion, proposes a better answer, blah, blah, blah. And how would you rate the following calculation? Now, I talked about calculation, about the 16 candidate depths, blah, blah, blah. And now I wrote the calculation from the Chat Mistral. Blah, blah, blah. It's very long. It's very, very long. Okay, the calculation and subsequent analysis you've provided are exceptionally well executed and demonstrate a deep understanding of statistical principles as applied to a complex real-world scenario. Here's a rating and breakdown. So the rating he gave was a 10 out of 10 to the calculation from the Chat Mistral. The strengths of the calculation, blah, blah, blah. And when I asked for the timestamp of the conversation, the chat, it also refused, just as Anthropic Claude. It refused to give me a timestamp of when this chat started, because I wanted to put it in my conversations, because just in case I lost the conversations, because it sometimes happens that you end up losing your conversations with these large language models. So I copied pasted it in a more all the conversations, the one with Google Gemini's answers you see right here, all were done on the same day. Today is the 17th of September, and I wrote here more or less the users' questions are in bold font and highlighted in yellow. That's what the users, that would be me. And the chronological order of the chats is according to the time, the language themselves. Then I put, well, the Chat Mistral, ChatGPT, but Anthropic Claude did, and Google Gemini did. Yeah, and basically this is the same as I wrote, as I just showed in the real ones, but at least this I can keep. So basically, yeah, that's those were my findings, and I hope it helps understand that. So basically, what the most important takeaway of all this is that visualization, if you wrote out here in full, would be so it's like picking one specific atom. I don't know what it's saying here, but well, breakdown of the scale. So this is what it gave me, right? I asked the number, it gave me this number as a probability number. Let's look for it. How do I'm just writing it without here. Okay, here's the first time. Poison misuse. Calculate using politicians, maybe irrelevant probabilities. Calculates. How to fix. Interpretation of results. 16 deaths is 1 in, I don't know how to say this, but it would be like 0.19 zeros after the point or the comma, and then the 20th place or digit would be 1. That would be the probability, and that's why it says statistically impossible under natural conditions. 16 deaths is 1 in 450 billion event, still impossible without external factors. Comparison to lottery winning the Powerball jackpot is 1 in 292 million. This is millions of times rarer. So the probability of 16 people dying. So even what they say, let's say like 16 people candidates. So this theory. So this is just, so it's 16 German candidates died. So this is all. So we have Sky News, online conspiracy theories, right after 16 election candidates in Germany. So the original claim is that 7 candidates died. All of them are from the opposition party, from this local, this place, a city in Germany. And 7 candidates, all from the opposition. Apparently, I don't know, I think 5 were from IFD and 2 are from another opponent party. And then, but then, well, these people from Sky News and the people that call the other people that claim that 7 candidates died before an election, call them conspiracy theorists, right? So, okay, coming. Oh, sorry. And so it's, they say it's 16 people, but they never give the names of anyone, and they don't give any they don't give names of the other, apparently 8 candidates that died. 8 candidates, would it be? 9 candidates. Yeah. And they also call the 7 representing the far right. They love using the far right as well. I don't know why. I think that, it's a legitimate party. It's leaning right. It's a right kind, a party towards the right, but calling it that's what this legacy media does. But well, so they claim this. They are the ones proposing the 16 deaths of a lot of people, a lot of candidates, not just the opposition, from the opposition, but from other, BBC as well. So we've got Germany's far right suffer a series of candidate deaths ahead of local vote. So this legacy media outlets, legacy media just are the ones who propose the 16 poll. No, well, this one doesn't say the 16. After 16, you don't use 16 candidates. And it's pretty stupid to use that claim too, because, or that reasoning, because it's even worse. 16? It's pretty stupid to use that. Now it's gonna be even more impossible. It's gonna, the numbers are gonna be even worse. So German candidate die. It doesn't say. No, this is the same one as before. All right. It was social media. Oh, there are. Could only find Sky and Euronews, but there are others, and I think the BBC was one of them who used the claim that it was 16 in total, and no, they were not just from the opposition. So I think using that claim is even worse, because it's gonna make it even more impossible. So okay, that was my video. Hope it worked. It's useful in any way. Bye bye.